Oh, what are we going to talk about today? Wow, so much. Slack acquired by Salesforce, Forbes 30 under 30. Here we go. Well, welcome. We are here. Welcome to Culture and Code Weekly, the weekly show where we, pretty much just talk about the world of business. This every week we generally have a guest. Last week we had who was our guest last week? Oh my God, was last week? Why am I drawing a blank? Yikes! Well, we had Omar Tom from Dubai. He was incredible. Really gave us a lot to think about. Oh, last week was Stephanie from Clubhouse. And that was really special. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. This week we have nobody. You're stuck with me. You're stuck with me. You're stuck with me and my thoughts. To start off with, I want to acknowledge Tony Hsieh, the passing of Tony Hsieh. Tony was the founder of a couple of companies. The one that you probably know most is Zappos. My recollection of Tony Hsieh is that I met Tony at South by Southwest. He used to do this happiness bus, and we'd cruise around Austin in this crazy bus that he had. And I didn't really spend a lot of time with him. I mean, it was, interactions, but he was a great guy. And then I started getting invited to his downtown Las Vegas project. And I probably went 2 or 3 times to downtown Las Vegas, over there by the Golden Nugget, if you know Las Vegas. And I always found him just to be an incredible visionary. I know a lot of the companies that he brought to Vegas, and just found Tony Hsieh to be, a complete visionary, warm, hospitable, quirky. But I can't say that we were super friends or anything. He knew me and I knew him, and I am saddened to hear about his death. He was definitely one of a kind. Definitely, I think about this today. I got to tour Zappos in Henderson, Las Vegas, Henderson, Nevada, and I remember touring. Every customer service rep had $200 that they could use to actually do whatever they want to deliver happiness to the customers on the other end. And so, my heart goes out to Tony Hsieh, and my heart goes out to the community of folks, so many of whom are friends of mine who called him friend. One of my guys, Eric Moore, who was a venture capitalist at a company called Base Ventures that we've done a lot of work with. Eric was first investor at Zappos, and tells a lot of great Tony Hsieh stories. So my heart goes out to all those who are grieving the loss of another great leader. So I am here this week with no guest, and I am humbled that you guys continue this year. I started the weekly show probably about 6 months ago. For those of you that don't know, The Authenticated is a community of folks who work behind the scenes tirelessly as creative entrepreneurs. We are a community of investors, of founders, of creatives. And we are, we're here, building with each other, building a marketplace. And so super humbled to be a part of a community, to be someone who's leading a community, and to be talking about communities. I think about communities. Sorry, someone's sending me. Speaking of Slack, that sold for $27 billion yesterday. I'm being slacked all over. I love communities. I love the community that we've built, and I really believe that a couple of things are going to be true for 2021, going into 2022. hyper-connected communities are the future. So I think we're going to go away from sort of social being your main hubs, and you will find these hyper-connected digital communities that you call yourself a member of, that you call yourself a citizen of. I almost think of the Authenticated as I've often referred to it as a city in the cloud. So we have citizens, and we have infrastructure, and we have, a marketplace. And so I think about this in the future. I think a lot about the future. It's kind of what I do when I'm not, talking to you guys. And I just really firmly believe that communities, hyper-connected communities, are the future. I also believe that 2021 will be 2021 will be the year when the creative economy starts to think about the tools in a more succinct way. So Patreon, which just raised, I don't know what, they're a $1 billion valuation company, really created an ecosystem for those of us in the creative economy. And 2021 for me is when we will begin to see the creative economy wrap their head around all of the possibilities for revenue, how they build their businesses, what platforms they decide to build their business on. And so I've been thinking a lot about 2022 as this creative explosion. It's the year of the entrepreneur. I mean, it's the year of the creative entrepreneur. It's the year when the musician, the author, the thought leader really explodes and starts to recognize their own audience and the value and the true value, their own personal true value, but then how they can eliminate some of what was, to me, in my humble opinion, were blockages towards understanding how to create real businesses. I think about this. I'm working a lot these days with actors and athletes and folks who have creativity in their DNA, and when I look at that and I map that to what's happening with Patreon and Substack and even Twitch, where I'm broadcasting here, and all these other kind of places where the creative economy has an opportunity to show their goods. I feel like, and then the third part of that is we've been in this pandemic, and we've been in this moment where creatives have been making art and making music and coming up with new book ideas. I think about that, and I think 2022 is when we see an explosion for the creative economy. And so super excited about the work that we're doing at the Authenticated, and the creative entrepreneurs that we work with, and this moment in time when the tools, the culture, the opportunity all meet each other. And so I've been talking a lot in my circles about this 2022 renaissance that feels like it's coming. And so so I'm really excited about what's taking place in the creative economy. I want to make a note that this week, tomorrow, I can't believe it's already here. I've been working on this for a year. We launch The New City. The New City is an exploration into the future of cities. We have keynotes from Andrew Yang. We have a keynote from Sir David Adjaye and Matthew Ryder. Sir David Adjaye is a pretty famous Ghanaian British architect who built the Smithsonian African American Museum and a ton of other projects that you can go check out. We have Matthew Ryder, who was the deputy mayor in London. We have a ton of people. You can go to thenewcity.live, thenewcity.live, and check out the lineup. Grab a ticket. Come meet us in so the way that we've built this conference is what we're kind of calling a multiverse. So there's like traditional content that comes, through the form of a YouTube link. And then we're playing around in a platform called Topia, which allows you to create an avatar and cruise around like a little world, which will be really fun. We'll be hosting gatherings in Topia. So you'll be an avatar, you have a video, and you kind of cruise around, and we have all these like buildings and all these sort of like objects that might talk to you, and it's kind of cool. And then the third piece is we've created a community underneath the new city for people who want to talk more about the future of cities. And so when you put this event stack all together, it's sort of a metaverse kind of idea. So that launches tomorrow. We've been working on that for a year. 2020 Visions is the creator of this incredible experience. We're in conjunction with Union Theological, which is a leading institution and seminary in New York City on the conversation around ethics. So super excited about that. Finally, we're here. Been working on this for a year. It's going to be a physical event. And we moved the entire organization to digital. It's pretty crazy. So pretty excited about that. What else? Today's a day where I don't have a guest, so this is totally off top of my dome. Hey, Christine Courtney, how are you? Good to see you. Hey guys, I have both my Instagram and two things going on at once, which is pretty exciting. So we this week, I guess, saw Forbes 30 under 30 lists come out. I have some thoughts about the Forbes 30 under 30 list. I feel like, look, for Forbes, it's an opportunity for clickbait. Sorry, Twitch, I see you out there. Forbes 30 under 30 is clickbait, really. It drives the Forbes brand. I mean, I think that for me, Forbes was somewhat moving towards irrelevancy until they really leaned into their Forbes 30 under 30 product, if you would. So I just want to talk about the business of Forbes, and then we'll get into the Forbes 30 under 30 list. The Forbes franchise, I mean, it was a bunch of old white guys, and so like they tapped into the young energy, the young culture, and built this 30 under 30 list. And first of all, shout out to all of those recognized in the Forbes 30 under 30. Congratulations. Many of them are founders that we advise. So I'm really excited for those folks who are in our network, in the Authenticate Network, who made the list. You earned it. You did a great job. For those who didn't make the list, this message is really for you. And this is coming from somebody who, I've been on the cover of Wall Street Journal. I'm Ebony Magazine. I don't know, what is it called? Power 100 list. I'm on the Ebony Magazine Power 100 list. I never really lived my career to be on lists, to be sort of recognized by if I lived my career to be recognized by, to get my Grammy or my Academy Award, I never would make it. And so I just want to, for those maybe who are under 30 who didn't make the list, because I feel like I'm always having this speech because I'm always advising young founders. The list doesn't mean anything. You shouldn't be playing for the list. I think, the list is wonderful. And again, shout out to all the companies that we advise and the founders we advise and those who made the Forbes 30 under 30 list. But there's something called luck. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying these people aren't talented, because they are. I know them personally. They're very talented. But you just never know why someone's on a list. You know what I mean? Like, like you didn't make the list. Like, it should not be your focal point. I'll tell a story. I worked in the music industry at a pretty high level. And when you work in the music industry, you like live for these things called plaques, right? So you get like these gold, these platinum, triple platinum plaques that that tell you that the work that you worked on, the artist you worked on, achieved a certain thing. But when you're an executive, the plaques are like, you know, important to you. I guess they were when I worked in the music industry. And you go to someone's house and they have all these platinum plaques, and it was sort of a symbol of, sort of you made it, right? And I remember, I transitioned from the music industry into the advertising industry. And so I had, Destiny's Child, Fugees, Lauryn Hill. I mean, I had so many plaques. It was crazy. And I put the majority of these plaques in the back of my car in Atlanta. And I was in Atlanta, and I put my car in front of my yard, and someone stole my car with all the plaques in it. So shout out to you running around Atlanta with the James Andrews Fugees plaque. And hold on one second, my team is like killing me. Hold on. Need an hour. Okay. I never have a moment to myself. So literally, as I'm talking to you and doing this hour, literally people are hitting me. So someone stole my plaques, all my plaques from my car. And I remember this moment, I felt so down. And I was like, it was also a moment from the universe of like, I don't really need the plaques to identify that I actually worked in this industry, that I actually, like Wyclef and Kelly and Beyonce and who else did I work with? Lauryn Hill, they know I worked my ass off for them. I don't need you to come into my house and see a bunch of plaques that, by the way, my wife is like, where are these ugly plaques going anyway? By the way, that's why they were in the back of my car, because my wife hated the plaques, to be honest with you. And you see, like, there's no plaques here, but it's not like our house wasn't like a place that you just want to put a bunch of plaques in, because they're kind of, they're not ugly, but they're like, what do you do with a bunch of plaques? Anyway, and they got stolen that day. And I remember this freedom of release of these accolades. I know my accolades. I know what I did in the industry. I know the work I put in. I know the hours I put in at that job at 550 Madison Avenue. And so, yeah, so this is a story. It's a roundabout way of sort of putting my arm around the back of anybody who's feeling shitty about not making Forbes 30 under 30 today, feeling like you're not getting the recognition from the industry that you deserve. Play for the approval of the universe, God, yourself, whatever you believe in. Play for the approval of one. Don't get caught up in whether or not you're recognized by these organizations. And I map that to the Forbes thing and the Forbes 30 under 30, because it's pretty clear that Forbes 30 under 30 is a clickbait opportunity for them to drive traffic, right? So I definitely don't want people being depressed today because they didn't make Forbes 30 under 30. I'm far from Forbes 30 under 30. I am 50. So when I was coming up, when I was 30, when I was 27, the Forbes list was literally a bunch of old white people. Seriously. There were never any cool people, I don't even think they had Forbes 30 and 30 when I was 27. So I don't know. If they did, it was corny. It would be corny to be on Forbes 30 under 30 back in the day. It's only become cool in the last few years. So I don't really have that attachment to the Forbes thing. But for those of you who are bummed today, you didn't make it, dude, you're going to be good. You're going to be good. So, I want to talk about that too. I'm going to pivot a little bit into this tweet that I sent. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you should. You really should. I say some crazy shit. It's @KeyInfluencer. And I said something this week. What did I say this week? I said something about, I know, because I was watching, what's this young man's name? St. John. He's an artist on is he on L.A. Reid's label? I think he must be on L.A. Reid's label. Saint JHN. Is that it? No. Anyway, I was watching the Mike Tyson fight, and his performance was horrible. I was like, this dude sounds terrible. I knew who he was. I've heard his music before, but his music, it just sounded terrible. It was like ridiculous. I was like, this is a bad performance, you know? And I tweeted that. I think I was like, St. John was horrible. YG was just okay. Snoop was the real winner or something like that. And this is the Mike Tyson fight this weekend that was brought to you by Triller. And somebody, this guy I know from Clubhouse was like, ooh, you better watch out. Like the industry is going to be on you. I was like, first of all, I'm an OG. Ain't nobody on me. I ain't worried about that. And two, like call me old school, but I come from a time period where if you suck, you suck. Like if you're whack, like you were whack. Like I don't care if you're industry hyped or not. And I also think that it led me to this thought just about industry hype in general. You know, like if you have industry hype, which means like you're heralded by the industry, that's a tactic sometimes. And I went back into the recesses of my marketing strategy. And when I worked at Columbia Records, I wrote marketing plans from 3 different perspectives. It was the building. So the building of Sony Music as an entity, my own company, the industry, and the consumer. And I literally had a separate marketing plan for each of those 3 segments. And whenever the 3 things were working together, so whenever they were in concert, I knew we had a hit. So I knew when the young white girl on the 24th floor all of a sudden knew who Praz was, I was like, oh, my building marketing is working, right? Like they know who the Fugees are, right? And I knew that when the industry was talking about Maxwell, that we had hit. And when the 3 things came together, generally, I'm using an algorithm that just kind of worked for me back then. When the 3 things came together, both industry, building, and consumer, that's when the flywheel was really working. That's when the flywheel, if you understand business, like you want to get to a point where your flywheel is just like operating on this energy, right? And so the thing I want to say is that like I was really good at my job back then at like making industry conversations and building conversations, because this generally happened before the audience got it. I was really good at like making that thing happen, which really requires like politics, right? It requires and the thing, and the other part of this is, I hate to say it, people, maybe not you who are watching this right now, but people just like settle for like mediocrity, meaning that if somebody tells you that thing is hot, you're going to go, oh, it's hot. And it doesn't just go for artists. It goes for like executives. That's right. That's what my tweet was about. Sometimes people will tell me, I'm not going to name any names, oh my God, this person is a genius. They're amazing. They're the most amazing entrepreneur, venture capitalist, marketer, blah, 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 right? And then I meet them and I'm like, where I miss the whole part about genius. I don't see it, right? And we end up creating these like hype machines around, business executives. I mean, I was talking to my friend String in Australia yesterday, who has a great business, and she's sort of, making business leaders into influencers. That's kind of, I'm dumbing down her business, but that's basically what it is. And so now all of a sudden, like personalities, people that work in business are becoming like influential, right? And to be honest with you, I've always had like a weirdness about my influence. I've like walked into it, but with like a weird trepidation. Like I enjoy making people famous. I don't enjoy necessarily like that part of it. I like being a reclusive rock star, right? I come from the school of thought of Clarence Avant, and if you haven't seen The Black Godfather, highly recommend it. I'm more on a need to know basis. So even doing this with you, this is like not my norm. I don't even like doing. I like doing this. Don't get me wrong, but this is not like I'm not chasing likes and I have X amount of people watching me between Instagram and Twitch and Facebook right now. I'm cool, you know. And if somebody watches it in post, great. But if you like my thing, if one person likes me or adds me today, awesome. I'm not someone who's out there chasing for that. But we live in a society, we live in a culture where people like make these claims about things, people, music, so forth, and a lot of it. Sorry, I'm coming around the mountain to the thought is that a lot of the time, you know, it's just hype. It's like a lot of hype, you know, and I wonder if we can start to question. And I actually generally like to meet people because the people who actually are not being talked about are some of my favorite people. Like people that I think are amazing. They're not making Forbes 30 under 30, maybe. They're not being highly recognized. Like the people who I think are really dope. They're not necessarily the people that like people are always talking about. And the people that people are always talking about, I often find them to be like mediocre. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like people, I'm not gonna name any names because I don't want to start a whole thing. But like, you know, I've even been in business with people with, you know, who are like, oh, yo, you're doing deals with this person. That must be amazing. They walk on water. They must be incredible. And I'm like, they're kind of snowing you. They're not that cool. So I know this and to be honest with you, I actually get weirded out when people like are like, oh my God, James Andrews, he's amazing. I was like, do you really know me? Do you know why I'm amazing? Like, I think I'm amazing, but like people like falsely kind of like give me accolades for things. I'm like, I'm dope for these things. You think I'm dope because this, like, you don't even know me. So I walk very carefully into the hype machine because I've been behind the machine. I've been a hype machine creator. You know what I'm saying? Like I fed my family on you know, making things famous, right? Making things influential. That is how I bought houses and cars, right? And so I'm saying this not just randomly, but just from a position of authority in that like I know what I'm talking about and because I've been a part of a machine. And so and in some cases, good hype. In some cases, well, generally my whole career has been, I've never really had to create any hype around something I didn't believe in, which is a blessing. I've never had to work, I'm trying to think. No. In fact, I'm the type of person that when things are not hyped enough or get wrongly promoted, I'll fight you for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, maybe like I worked on Blackish. I launched Blackish for ABC. And shout out to Brian Dobbins, who's my college roommate, and Kenya Barris, who I've known forever. These guys called me and they were like, you know, this is sort of the height of my social media days. I owned an agency and they were like, hey, we got this show greenlit at ABC. It's called Blackish. And as soon as I went to, I flew from Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta at the time. I flew from Atlanta to LA and I went to the writer's room or whatever. I went and I read the script and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a hit. You know, like there's a whole community of people who live this Blackish lifestyle, right? And I was like, this is going to be a hit. But when the show hit the public, it received a lot of pushback. You know, it received criticism from the Black community, and you Black people out there know who you are. And it also received criticism from the white community, or some white people. The one white person I remember, whose name was Donald Trump, actually sent a tweet that said, Blackish, we should have a show called Whitish. Like, whatever. So I walked into ABC Disney, a room of all white executives who knew nothing about how to defend Kenya and this show. I knew Kenya had created an incredible show that was based on his true life story. I felt like that story needed to be pushed out. They, God, it was just a mess. It's giving me PTSD even thinking about it. They were like scrambling, scared, like, you know, calling the NAACP and all kinds of irrelevant people to like help them think through this idea. And I was like, yo, we've got to elevate Kenya and his story so that people are mapping the Blackish story to Kenya, and that, you know, this is like his true life story. So we did a number of things. This was the height of my social media days. So like I did like a Twitter, I did a chat with, what's the woman's name? Francesca, I can't remember her name now. And just all kinds of like YouTube, internet, you know, Black voices. And then we did a Twitter chat on the Sunday night before the show launched with Kevin Powell, Tracy, Anthony Anderson, Kenya. And we spent 3 hours, you know, I guess the equivalent of like what would be Clubhouse today. We spent 3 hours on Twitter just answering questions like, what is Blackish and why is Blackish? And you know, then the show launched that Wednesday, and the rest is history. And it became, you know, a really popular show for ABC. But it was pretty bad. Like they were definitely, they being ABC, you know, like we're just scared. It was just scary. And I felt like I wanted to stand up. Francesca Ramsey, thank you. Thank you, Instagram. They were scared and they didn't want to put outdoor advertising up in Times Square because white people were, it was so weird. And at that moment, I knew I had to stand up and fight for this show, for the hype, right? And fight for the creator, you know, and fight for the rights of the creator. And so I do that. That's kind of what I do. I do spend a lot of my time fighting for the creative and fighting for the good side of hype, let's just say. Something I can tell you that I worked on this week. I am working with the actor Faison Love. Faison was in a movie called Couples Retreat in 2009. Faison, who was one of the leads in the movie, who is African American, if you guys don't know. Faison was eliminated from the poster as the film went into international marketing. The Universal executives, when they recognized this, when Twitter called them out, went, oh my God, we didn't even know that happened. And promised Faison all of these things, right? Like, we're going to put you in films and TV shows, and we're going to make good, we're going to make good, we're going to make good. Never made good for Faison. And so Faison, this year, couldn't take it anymore. I guess he was, his wife kind of told him some things, and, his former wife, and he basically this year decided he was going to sue Universal Pictures. So right before Thanksgiving, Faison sued Universal Pictures for discrimination and a bunch of other claims. And so I'm involved in this, supporting, advising Faison. And we had a chat the other night on Clubhouse, for those of you who are a part of Clubhouse. And what it turns out as I started to dig into this is that this is historical. So John Boyega, Star Wars, blackface, black man, removed his blackface from the poster. The star of 12 Years a Slave. It goes on and on. There's a practice within Hollywood of removing black actors from international marketing because there's this notion that Black people are not don't sell in overseas. I don't know, whatever the hell this shit is. It's so ridiculous. I'm trying to like get the words out. I'm somebody who moves around the world. I spend a lot of time in the UAE and Qatar and Brazil and Scandinavia. Shout out to Stockholm, my people out there. Paris, London, blah blah, Tel Aviv. I don't know, man. We're pretty popular around the world. We're pretty, you know, we can definitely sell some things around the world. We definitely are the straw that stirs the drink around the world. I don't know where these clueless executives that work at film studios, where they're coming from. I have a call with a friend of mine coming up soon. I can't wait to talk to her about this. I don't really work in film in Hollywood. I've worked on Blackish and done a few things, but I don't really work in Hollywood. So it's really interesting to hear about how bold of a move this was for Faison last week. You know, there are not a lot of actors that would put themselves out there and potentially be blackballed by Hollywood. Luckily, Faison ain't scared of nobody. I ain't scared of nobody. So we dove in last week, and it's become a story. And I'm going to continue to make it a story until Hollywood recognizes its error in its ways. I actually, in researching this trend, I went to my friend, Dr. Darnell Hunt, who runs the sociology department at the only university that matters in Los Angeles. It's called UCLA. Happens to be my alma mater. And Darnell, who releases a report every year before the Academy Awards on diversity in Hollywood, if you look at page 33 and 34 of his report, which I tweeted a couple of days, yesterday, actually films with Black leads and actually do very well internationally. So what the hell? Here's my thing. I'm going to stand up for the creator, for the creative economy, for the artist all the time. Even when I worked at Columbia Records, I stood up for my artists. I stood up for their voices and things they want to say in the world. So I'm definitely, when I got the call from Faison to support him, I'm definitely going to stand up for him. I don't have a boss. Guess what, y'all? I don't have a boss. So I don't really my clients are not my bosses. I'm not scared of Hollywood. And I'm super excited that Faison is, we took this on. And so yeah, it's sort of a movement we're kind of creating called Black Actors Matter. Because what I also learned, and again, I don't work a ton in Hollywood. Ironically, though, I did used to hang out with Vince Vaughn in college. So it's weird that this was Vince Vaughn and Faison. Randomly, the guy who shot the film, who's Peter Billingsley, who is in the Messy Marvin commercial and the Little Red Rider, the Christmas Story, was also my friend back in those days. He was the director of Couples Retreat. Is that what it's called? Couples Retreat. Random, just so random that my LA days were spent with these guys. But I don't really spend a lot of time in Hollywood, and I think it's just asinine. I think it's just asinine to not think that Black people don't move the needle internationally. It is, shout out to Kareem Jackson, who just sent me a message on Instagram, or on LinkedIn rather, doing business abroad in Asia right now, watching you from the Philippines. Well, shout out to the Philippines, right? We are global. We are all over the world. It's just not only is it discrimination, but it's dumb. Basically, Faison is suing Universal to make them more money. It makes no sense. Faison actually had one of the #1 films in South Africa. Duh, who's not reading the data and going, oh, this dude had a #1 film in South Africa. let's at least leverage the South African release for couples retreat. And it's just so dumb. I can't believe I'm having this conversation with you guys. It's like a waste of my breath. But it was an interesting week for me, or it is an interesting week because this all happened. I guess I started on this project on Wednesday. Shout out to Wendy Williams, who hit the story yesterday, day before yesterday. Shout out to the folks on Clubhouse that spent 3 hours with us talking about why Black actors matter. And shout out to the Black voices who are courageous enough to go against Hollywood. Like, don't be scared of nobody, man. Don't be scared. Don't be scared of nobody, for real. Really. And for the white comrades, I don't use the word allies, for the white comrades who want to support, like, it's interesting. I haven't yet asked Faison about this, but Jon Favreau, who's a friend of Faison's, or, like, where are they in this conversation? I guess what was confusing for me is, like, why aren't they going? First of all, if you look at the poster, the main poster that Faison is in the movie, Chris Spencer, who's a mutual friend of me and Faison, he's a comedian. He said, "You're so far back in the poster, I thought you were in another movie." He's so far. How do you put it? Just makes no sense, man. It just makes no sense. So that's what I've been up to this week. This is a random show today, guys. I'm literally just brain dumping, and that's what I love about Culture and Code Weekly. I used to do this and had, I wouldn't really bring guests on. You guys have been spoiled. I've given you 6 weeks in a row of of incredible guests. You guys should definitely go in the archives. If this is your first time in this, you should come check out what we've been doing at Culture and Code Weekly. We've been doing a lot. Last week we interviewed Stephanie Simon, who played college basketball, and then went and became a lawyer and a banker, and then worked for Beats by Dre, and then worked for will.i.am, and now is the community lead at Clubhouse. If you're not on Clubhouse, interesting, come join the Authenticated at Clubhouse. We do some really interesting stuff. But yeah, this is a week where I have no guests. It's a pretty busy week for us. We're producing this conference called The New City. Keynotes are Andrew Yang, Sir David Adjaye, who is a pretty famous Ghanaian British architect. You can go to thenewcity.live. We have Culture and Code, our annual summit. It's kind of our Shark Week. It's coming up on December 14th to the 18th. And coming January 1, we are opening up new membership for the Authenticated. So I'm really excited about where we're moving into the new season. If you're interested, there's applications. I think it's probably in my link in my bio. If not, text me 415-843-8100. We have a lot planned the week of December 14th to the 18th. It's also National Immigrant. It's either called National Immigrants something, as recognized by the UN, whatever it's called. We're hosting an immigrant hustle dinner on the 16th or 17th, a virtual dinner. And then we're doing a really cool Shabbat on that Friday, which happens to be the first day of Hanukkah, with my friends over at Tribe. Chaya Bindel has built an amazing community at Tribe, Trybe. We did one really cool Shabbat celebration with her. We are working on some interesting things in Dubai. Shout out to my Dubai people. If you guys watched the episode where we had Omar Tom on, that episode actually inspired an idea between Dubai and Israel that we're working on right now. And we're going to bring the culture and the code in between Dubai and Israel for 2021. You guys should come check it out. Really excited if you guys are interested. If you haven't seen, by the way, I don't know if you even know this, so I'm gonna shed this light. Dubai and Israel are now open, so you can now move. You couldn't really move in between Dubai and Israel now. Now you can move in between Dubai and Israel. Shout out to Jermaine Dupree. I see you on the check-in. Shout out to Kevin Swain. I see you on the check-in. Lauren Hazel. Shout out to the Philippines. I see you on the check-in. I am broadcasting on everything right now. I'm on Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, What else am I on? I'm on all the things. I'm on all the things. It's great. I also have an incredible team out of Atlanta. We're doing, the virtual stream production at a pretty large level. We're going to be doing a bunch of stuff. We have a Super Bowl. Well, cat's out of the bag. Damn. Sorry, authenticated team. Cat's out of the bag. We're doing something for Super Bowl in the virtual stream with players and people and cities, and I'll tell you more about that. But I got an incredible team out of Atlanta that are helping us produce live streaming at a real big level, like a real big level. And so you'll see that tomorrow in the launch of our New Cities conference. That's going to be really exciting. I'm really excited about that. Again, we have Andrew Yang as a keynote. We have Sir David Adjaye. If you guys, David Adjaye is a very famous architect. He built the Smithsonian African American Museum in Washington, D.C. He's been knighted. I got to get knighted. That would be some crazy shit to be knighted. Like if someone just put a Sir in front of your name, Sir James, you couldn't tell me nothing. Sir James Andrews, it'd be a wrap. But super excited about that. We have him in conversation with a guy named Matthew Ryder, who is the deputy mayor of London. Really great conversation between those two. That all happens tomorrow. And then we're doing this virtual experience. It's going to be really dope. We're playing around in the virtual space in a way that nobody's doing. So I'm really excited about that. Speaking of virtual, I had a call with Complex Magazine yesterday about a project that we may work on together. And they have Complex Land coming up, which starts December 7th. I'm curious. I'm excited. I mean, they think it's going to be bigger than the regular Complex. By the way, matcha green tea, MCT oil, MCT powder for the brain, collagen protein, and then the butter, like give you some fat. This is basically a powered up matcha. Stop drinking coffee is definitely the way to go. I'm highly, highly supportive of matcha. I've become a matcha addict. Stop drinking coffee. Just wasn't for me. Didn't need those kinds of highs. The thing about matcha is it gives you a nice little level. I see Erica, my matcha cohort, on the check-in. What city are you guys in? Let's talk about some cities. You know I love doing that. I got about 15 minutes left with you. Give me some cities. What cities are you in? Give me some cities. Check in. I like talking about y'all cities. I like talk. Yes, brain food. Yes, this is brain food. This is definitely brain food. And you can see the more I was drinking, hopefully I was becoming smarter, the more I was drinking. So where are we at? Tell me more. Let's see. Good morning. I'd like to know more about the project in Atlanta. Well, it's not a project in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta is a project in and of itself to me. I used to live in Atlanta. I was there 15 years. Now I live in LA. I consider myself a builder of a bridge between Peachtree and Sunset. That's kind of what I've been playing around with, is a metaphorical concept between Peachtree and Sunset. My heart is in Atlanta. My body is in LA right now. And so, yeah. Shout out to Atlanta. You're on the check-in. I see you. Harlem on the check-in. Kansas City on the check-in. Manchester, New Hampshire on the check-in. Riverdale, the BX. Is that Rich Nice? Like the Rich Nice? Rich Nice is there. I see Jermaine Dupree watching. I see Muñeca in Boston. Zulika, you're in Manchester. Robert in Atlanta. I see you, Frybiz, at Frybiz at Brooklyn. Damn, New York is strong today. Hey, here's something for you. Is creativity dead in New York? I actually did a talk about this about 2 months ago. And my question, my provocation, don't get off huffy and puffy, y'all New Yorkers. I know how y'all get. With the last few years, music, art, fashion, we've had a diversification, let's just say, of creativity. Atlanta clearly is running the music business right now. My provocation, and I actually did an entire talk around with a woman that runs an arts organization out of New York City. I'll post this thing today. Is the creative scene in New York City dead? And that question alone brings up so many conversations. Now, at the end of this conversation, the answer to me is no, it's not dead. And there's reasons why. Well, there's reasons why you would think it's dead, because you're just looking at like what's come, what's the products that have come out of New York or the things that have happened. The arts organization that I did this with is called More Art, and the woman's name is Michela Martigani. And Michela Martigani and I are doing the Immigrant Hustle dinner on the week of the 14th for Culture and Code. More Art is the name of the organization. They're a public arts organization. So we did a talk on, is New York City's creative scene dead? We started thinking about this. Creativity goes hand in hand with affordability of housing, right? And so there was this idea of like, is New York too expensive for the artists to live in, right? So we went through that whole thing. At the end of this conversation, and you can go watch it, we netted on the idea that creativity is not dead in New York City, and it's actually never been a greater time to be in New York City, okay? And so I just want to, again, I'm somebody, I talk about cities. I love cities. I used to live in New York. Well, I lived in Jersey, but I worked in Manhattan. Shout out to Rich Nice, who was in that same 550 Madison Avenue building between 5'5" and 5'6". New York City is always going to be special to me. There's never going to be a city that captured, no, I'm not going to say that. New York City captured my heart and is the center of so many important moments in my career. When I moved from LA to New York, and I'm West Coast through and through, but New York City is when like it started to really all came together for me. So it holds a dear place in my heart. So does Atlanta, though. I'm not gonna make this a whole New York conversation. Atlanta is special as well. And Atlanta's special for the reasons that probably most people don't really recognize it for. Atlanta is special because of what I call the Atlanta way, right? And the Atlanta way is described by lots of people in different ways. I call my Atlanta way this sort of intersection of business, art, politics, in a way that no other city brings together. No other city. And I learned more about how culture and politics come together. I started to learn this in New York because I was mentored by a man named LeBaron Taylor. LeBaron Taylor was at Sony Music, and he was the first ever head of black music at a record label. If you read the book Hitmen, he's in the book Hitmen because Clive Davis went to Harvard and issued a paper about race music, basically, and the evolution of black divisions. For those of you that are in music and are working in black music divisions, well, you don't even have those anymore. Damn, y'all are like a generation after me. This is crazy. Well, there was a period where we had black music divisions. And the beginning of that period starts with a man named LeBaron Taylor. LeBaron Taylor was at Sony Music. God rest his soul. He was a great mentor of mine. As his career transitioned, he still remained at Sony, working under Tommy Mottola. But he basically worked in between Sony Music and Washington, D.C. So I got to spend a lot of time at our fancy Congressional Black Caucus event that we did. And LeBaron just took me under his wing and like mentored me. And it was amazing. It was amazing, amazing. And I learned a lot about politics and culture because, he basically wielded all of our, cultural power. So Michael Jackson, we had Michael Jackson, we had, because we Epic Records, we had all these big acts, and he showed me game. He put me up on game. Atlanta gave me the understanding of how that really works in action. Sitting in a room with, I used to go to I went to a couple of meetings with the Andrew Young Men's Forum, and it would be like all of like the culture leaders, the bankers. I mean, the thing about Atlanta is you have to understand politics. And shout out to my boy Kwanzaa Hall, who I heard took John Lewis's seat. Woo! I'm about to holler at you, Kwanzaa. That's amazing. It's a shout to my Atlanta people right now. Kwanzaa, what I love about Kwanzaa, I'm gonna say it's about Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa Hall is a young politician in Atlanta, been around forever, born and raised in Atlanta. Man, Kwanzaa went to, if I'm not mistaken, MIT. And as I was rising up the ranks in social media, Kwanzaa would be at everything I would speak at. And we would talk technology. And he just gets it. He just gets it. He gets it. And I'm super, super excited for my friend Kwanzaa Hall. I miss Atlanta dearly, as you can hear in my voice. It's such an amazing place. So Atlanta's where I learned a lot of that. What other cities do I have out there? Manchester, New Hampshire. I have never been to Manchester. I assume you guys have good lobster, maybe. Let's see, Boston. Well, let me tell you about Boston. I always assumed Boston to be this racist, cold, dark city that gave us New Edition. That's basically all I do. I hate the Celtics. I never really loved Boston. And, you know, I've been several times. I took my son on a college tour many years ago, and we toured Harvard and BU and maybe Berkeley School of Music. And I began to realize this is a dope city. This is a dope city. I was like, I actually, you know, there's actually a lot about Boston that I actually like. And I remember like putting myself in the position of my son and going, could you go to school here? Now, over there by BU, that shit is cold on a level I can't even describe. Like, I'm from California, so cold for me is relative. I'm wearing long johns at 50 degrees. That was cold. That was very cold. And, but Boston, I couldn't live there, couldn't work there. It's not for me. But I actually found a moment where I was like, I kind of like Boston. It's just cool. But yeah, it's never really been a city that appealed to me. Let's move gears. Philadelphia, my heart. I have a hood pass in Philadelphia. I absolutely love Philadelphia. A guy named Jeffrey Towns is one of my best friends. He goes by DJ Jazzy Jeff. I have a straight, legit hood pass in Philly. And I absolutely love Philly. And I got the essence of Philly immediately when I started going to Philly. And I really, you know, there's something about Philly that reminds me of Oakland, which is where I grew up. There's something about Philly that's like the South. Like you can feel the Southern migration in Philly, right? You feel that like it's not New York, right? It's not Baltimore. Baltimore is its own planet, I think, actually. Philly is just Philly, man. And what I loved about Philly is, you know, I was working with Jazzy Jeff, is the musicianship. That's one of the things, like musicians in Philly are a whole different level, man. Seriously, like we would do these jam sessions on Sundays at Jeff's studio, Touch of Jazz. Jeff bought Joe the Butcher's old studio on 3rd between Spring and Callowhill. And he had a studio there called Touch of Jazz Studios. And on Sundays, I would come up from Jersey and it would be someone's uncle on bass, some young, now Vidal on keys, Dre or whatever. It was just like, well, if you know these producers, if you're in the business, it was Andre Harris, Vidal, Carvin, all these guys, but they were all young kids when I knew them. And they would be playing switch, dude from drums goes to keys, dude from keys goes to bass. I mean, it was just like, it was crazy, crazy, crazy musicianship. Amir Questlove would be around the corner from Jeff's studio, Victor Duplay, James Poyser. These are all like, you know, pretty famous musician names. The talent in Philadelphia from a music perspective is just amazing. And then there's the cheesesteaks. And when I used to eat like that, I used to love a good Ishkabibbles, get a hoagie from Ishkabibbles with a gremlin. I'm speaking a lot of Philly language to people. I'm speaking gang language. I'm dropping Johns on you right now. That's the thing about cities. I know all y'all's like things. I'm like linguistic. I can speak everything. Yalla, bibi, John, Hella, those are all culture signals for somebody. But Philly really captured my heart in a way that, like, I didn't think like an East Coast city would. Speaking of my friend Jazzy Jeff, he has his magnificent lunch break today. I'm seeing his tweet right now. I just saw Jazzy Jeff tweet out. Yeah, I love cities. I love talking about cities. I love talking about y'all cities. I love talking about technology. I love talking about venture capital. I love talking about innovation. And I love just communities, man. I'm really blessed and fortunate to have the Authenticated. If you want to know more, text me 415-843-8100. We're opening up membership for the Authenticated starting in January. We have Culture and Code, our quarterly summit happening the week of the 14th to the 18th. We're going to be doing an immigrant hustle dinner. We're going to be doing a Shabbat dinner with Chaya Bendel and the folks at Tribe. I probably will be DJing my ass off. I'm DJing Saturday. I'm DJing this Saturday, by the way. Oh, yeah. As a part of the New City Conference we're doing, I'm DJing the closing party that starts at 9 o'clock or something. I don't know. You'll just follow me. I might even just go on early and just DJ like a 4 or 5 hour set. But super excited about DJing and doing some stuff, and super excited about my production team in Atlanta that's allowing me to look like a rock star in the virtual world. I can't wait to do more stuff with them. Yeah, coming up on the 9 o'clock hour here in Pacific Coast Highway in Los Angeles on a beautiful December sunny day, 74 degrees in LA today. Ooh, this is one of them days when, the thing about living in LA in December, it's obnoxious because the weather is like dumb. It's just dumb, speaking of cities. Now that I moved to LA, all those like posts I used to hate when I was living in cold places, like this is when you're like yesterday I pretty much spent 3:30. No, I was at the beach I took my last calls on the beach. I spoke on a panel from the beach yesterday. I forgot I did that. I spoke at the Goody Nation, Joey Womack's panel yesterday because I was meditating on the beach and it like fell right into my panel. And I was like, I'm just going to do this thing from the beach. And so, yeah, this is the obnoxious time of year for Angelinos with 74-degree weather on December 2nd. I love you guys. Part of our Culture and Code theme is going to be resilience. So December 14th, 18th, we're going to be talking about resilience and what does it take to be resilient? What does it take to be creative in uncertain times? I'm certainly going through some stuff in my family. It's a tough time for me. And I know it's a tough time for a lot of people. So I just appreciate you giving me the the opportunity to share my insights with you when I know a lot of us are going through tough times. For those of you that have people with mental health issues, I'm somebody who has people with mental health issues in my family. It's a tough one for us, guys. It fucking sucks. It's one of the hardest jobs ever. Is to care for someone who has mental health issues. So, and on that note, I'm thinking about you guys. You guys are dope. Thank you so much. Appreciate all of you. Ending, end me, end now. Ending, end stream, end broadcast.